time, we can receive comments from the public regarding the proposed use of life safety funds. Illinois law requires that public hearing be held prior to the adoption of life safety amendments to the district's life safety plan payment. The proposed life safety amendment is related to pavement work at the district's facilities and addresses improvements necessary to maintain safe and compliant school runs. A public hearing is not a dialogue or question and answer session between the board and the audience. It is a time when members of the public may present information and express opinions regarding the proposed life safety amendment for the pavement work. The board's role is to listen intently to all comments presented by the public and then consider those comments when the board deliberates on the adoption of the life safety amendment. Do we have any comments from the public? That will end the public hearing. Now we will celebrate the success of welcoming District 80's new employees.
Wonderful, great, thank you very much. We would like to welcome and thank the board for coming early tonight to meet our wonderful new employees. They spent the day today on their first day of orientation, learning about all the district processes and getting some paperwork done and fun stuff like that. So we're going to begin with Dr. Jackie Kane. Dr. Kane is our Director of Student Services. So she's over there on our administration side. She comes to us with a lot of experience, and we're really excited and happy. Already seen some great things happen. Jackie started July 1st. We've already had some great stuff happen. We put her to work right away, that's for sure. Also, Miss Tammy Sanchez, who is right over here. Miss Sanchez is our new coordinator of technology. She also is just started August 1st with us, and August 3rd with us, and is running already. So just want to welcome both of them. Then I will turn it over to Mr. Beer.
For Giles School, we have a new assistant principal, Mr. Jonathan Winthrop. He was an assistant principal at another school district, and so we're super excited to have him join our staff. For math, 7th and 8th grade math, we have Mr. Robbie Joe Underwood. He'll be joining us. For 7th grade special education case manager and 7th and 8th grade math will be Mr. Nick Gannis. For our 7th and 8th grade ELA will be Miss Demas. For our 7th and 8th grade ELA will be Miss Maddie Wise. And then for our 5th and 6th grade math will be Mr. Joseph Nagler. So we're super excited to have them all join the Giles family.
We're going to get our order done.
I'm sorry.
I think this is alphabetical. So wonderful. Mr. Preble?
All right, so if you want to cycle back to Peterson. So our new assistant principal here at Lee is Sally Peterson, sitting to my left. She comes to us with a wealth of preschool and social work background, so she's going to be the perfect fit for us. And next, we have Miss, and I'm going to do it right, Miss Demetra Stacco. Or Miss E going forward after tonight. She'll be teaching first grade with us here at Lee. And then we have Tiffany Pagani, who's a familiar face. She's going to be our STEAM teacher. She has done some long-term subbing for us here, both at Lee and at Giles last year. And then Amy Pochin is our new social worker. And she comes to us out of Elmhurst. And last but not least at all, Isabel Raposo is our new lead teacher. So our K1 special ed.
purposes of this presentation, we're going to focus on curriculum instruction. So I kind of just view this as a little bit of a roadmap because, you know, as the saying goes, if you don't know where you're going, any bus will take you there. So thinking about that, we had a little bit of a admin retreat where some of our team members went to a professional development session, and together we kind of set ourselves a vision for this school year on some things that we want to focus on. And I wanted to keep that vision and kind of share that with you all this evening. So by June of 2027, we want to establish collaborative teams with agendas, outcomes that align with the school improvement plan goals. And we also identified some action steps, or what we're calling lead measures, that will help us to do that, which would be, you know, developing norms that hold teams accountable, making sure that we're consistently reviewing data and looking back at that to make our instructional decisions, and making sure that we have outcomes for meetings that tie back to our school improvement plan. Those school improvement plans that we worked on aren't just a piece of paper or plan that we put out there. It really is what we do and how we do the things that we do every day. So we want to make sure that we're not only planning for that, but we're now working our plan and living that. So just to recap, our school improvement goals are listed up there. But for Giles ELA, we want 65% of students to make their growth goal, 60% for math. Then at Lee, we were looking for 72% of students to make their growth goal in both ELA and math. We really are hoping to hit these targets. We think they are ambitious but attainable, and we really do feel that if we put our focus on that collaborative team effort and really making sure that we're leveraging our teachers to be the best that they can be and bringing that out in them, that we can do that. We have some really talented individuals that work in Norwich School District 80, but we got to build that collaboration and help to support that across the board. So with this position, this was something I have been kind of reflecting on and thinking about. What are the different pieces of this position? So there is that curriculum piece. We do have some new curriculum that's also coming into the district this year, so that makes it a big priority. There's also the instruction that's happening. What is happening in the classrooms day in and day out. There's the assessments. How are we using that data to then guide our instruction? Professional learning. We got to make sure that we're tying our learning experience back to our district priorities and making sure that that's cohesive. And then a leadership focus, partnering with the principals to strengthen our systems that we have in place. Also working with our coordinator of technology, making sure that things are going well on that side of things. So on the next slide, there we go. It'll break down a few different examples of what that might look like. So curriculum might be reviewing our pacing, might be looking at our implementation. Like I said, we have a new curriculum coming in for ELA from kindergarten through 6th grade. That's huge. That really is a big deal, and we need to make sure that we're implementing that with consistency, throughout all of our classrooms to make sure that all students get that learning experience that we're looking to provide. It also means supporting those curriculum needs when questions come up, being a resource for teachers. Doesn't mean I'll always have the answer, but I need to make sure that I'm there to support them and help them find the answer and work together and help to facilitate that collaboration, which also goes along with the instructional piece. Attending our PLC meetings, that's when we'll have teacher teams coming together, and we'll be looking at the assessment data, seeing what are students learning. Are some students struggling with certain concepts? What are some of the trends that we're seeing? And how do we then plan our next steps for our instruction? And if we consistently do that in a cycle, the idea is that we should see that growth. If we're always looking at what are we doing for our students who have already mastered that particular standard that we're focusing on? What are we doing for the students that aren't quite getting it? If those are the questions that we're asking ourselves at every meeting, and we're planning and saying, this is what we're going to do tomorrow, this is what I'm going to do Thursday, and we're always planning that out and collaborating. That's really what we want to see, our teachers being able to do, is having those conversations, supporting one another, sharing ideas, sharing resources, but making it consistent for our students across the board. So the assessment, kind of mentioned some of the assessment data that we'll be looking at, but also there's another layer of monitoring our intervention programs, our MTSS system. That is something that we've really, spent years building and fine-tuning, and it's still something that's a work in progress because we're always trying to do better. The minute we say everything's going great, that's a red flag because we always want to be continuously improving. So, making sure that we're looking at how our students are performing, even on our bi-weekly progress monitoring schedules, and making sure that we're being responsive to those interventions, and making sure that if a student isn't, showing that progress, well, what's the next step that we're going to take, and what does that look like? So it'd be facilitating meetings, meeting with our interventionists. We have one interventionist at Giles, we have two at Lee, so really working with them as a team on that system. Which also ties into professional learning. We need to see what trends are coming up across the board, and we need to make sure that we're providing professional learning opportunities for our teachers and staff that align to our district priorities. Along with that, having a new curriculum coming in, ELA K-6, but also new math in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Those are something that it's going to take some time, it's going to take some work, it's going to take some coaching and learning and working with those teachers on what that should look like and what the instruction should look like. So it's tying all those pieces together and making sure that those teams are cohesive in how we're delivering that instruction. So then with leadership, I had mentioned meeting with the interventionist. There's also our district-wide committee for academic intervention that goes along with that. Working with our technology coordinator, as Mrs. Guzik had mentioned, I've been taking on some of the higher level tech pieces and just trying to see how those pieces all kind of tie together, which has been a little bit of a learning curve for me. I consider myself kind of tech savvy, but that was definitely did a lot of learning this summer, which is a good thing. But sometimes being outside of your comfort zone and learning that gives you a different perspective on things as well. But I think Ms. Sanchez is going to be great handling the day-to-day workings of our technology department, but I'll be there to give her some guidance on how it kind of connects with our other systems. And then working with the principals. We have two great principals here, and I want to work with them to make sure that we're doing the best that we can, implementing our systems, making sure the day-to-day is going well. We'll set up times where we're going to, go visit classrooms together. We're going to kind of see what we're looking at. We're going to identify trends across buildings or between grade levels. And that's work that I'm really excited for, and I believe they are excited for it too. They're still just not along with me, right? All right. So that's a little bit, kind of breaking that down. So for this first trimester, I kind of see this as we're going to launch. We have our curriculum. We're going to get the year started. We're going to establish, just some new curriculum routines. We're going to establish some TLC structures. We're going to get teams meeting. We're going to, we have some new team members, so that takes some norming, getting to know each other, those types of things. But then diving into our pacing, making sure we're staying on track with those things, making sure that we all have common instructional expectations that we're following. And then we have to monitor the implementation. So with our the new curriculum coming in, magnetic literacy for K-6, with iReady math implementation. And yes, it's new for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but we still got to monitor that K-5 as well. We want to make sure that our math instruction is solid across the board. support that and give them some ideas so that we can learn together, which is that next piece, supporting that implementation and new learning. We have our calendar that outlines some of our Teacher Institute days, our SIP days, including one coming up in October. And for that one, I see that really being flexible to our teacher needs and the information that's kind of collected within those first few weeks of the school year. What are we doing well? What are we struggling with? How do we support you so that you can best support the students in front of you every day? So we'll be continuing walkthroughs, we'll be working with the principals, meeting with those PLC teams, and really looking at how things are looking across the board. And then we always got to refine. Like I said, if we never want to say everything's perfect. We're always going to keep continuing to grow. There's always room for improvement, so let's go back and see how are our students doing. What are their assessments like? So if you see CFA, that stands for Common Formative Assessment. That's like maybe saying a short quiz that you took in class. And so let's see how you did on that and make sure we're constantly improving as we go, not waiting till the end of a unit when you take a big test at the end, but let's make sure we're catching it sooner and we're responding to student learning as quickly as possible. And then monitoring those interventions, providing support to teachers or teams kind of in the moment, being able to work with them closely, I think will allow me to be able to do that, and then being able to adjust our professional learning for them along the way and responding to their needs. So that was a lot, but moving forward, throughout that first trimester, some of the things that we'll be looking closely at is classroom walkthroughs, seeing what's happening in the classrooms, being a part of those PLC meetings, and really keeping track of that student learning. Also curriculum pacing and implementation, especially when you're starting a new curriculum, sometimes it takes a little bit of time for teachers to get adjusted to the pacing of a new curriculum. Sometimes there's certain suggestions that are, maybe like in the teacher's manuals, and sometimes things take a little longer, or some things go a little quicker. So those are things that we're really going to be focusing on in terms of pacing and implementation. And then constantly looking at student work in those PLC meetings, looking at how they're doing on their assessments, and following up for next steps. And of course, along the way, we'll be gathering feedback. Teachers, what is it that you need? Because I want to, help them so that, they can do their job in the most efficient and effective way that they can. And the same goes for, supporting the principals as well. So my next steps is that once all of that, that I shared out, I'll be reviewing progress, celebrating strengths along the way, identifying areas that we can continue to work on, and then we'll use that to kind of establish our trimester 2 plan, which I will then be able to share out with you when we get to that point in the school year. And I think that wraps up my piece, but I am here if you have any questions.
I have one. Anyone who's going up, I'll always bring up IAR, annual state testing, and come to the discussion that it's not, that IAR testing is not the only reflection of the education offered by the district, but it is something that people do look at. How do you plan to factor that in your plan?
Well, I think there's a couple of things to look at with IAR. So first, I think one of the things that we'll have to look at is our data from last year. And along with that, we get a variety of reports. So some of those tell us specific standards that our students did well on, and it will tell you standards that we struggled on at each grade level. So that could be an area that we look at, because let's say we're looking at math and looking at 3rd and 4th grade, there might be specific standards that maybe aren't covered as well within our curriculum that we need to go back and tighten up and do a little bit of bigger push for. That could be something that we find. And it's also the other piece to that, though, is if we're constantly standards are tied to the assessment. So if we're really teaching to the standard, we're focusing on the standard, that we're teaching at the time, and we know that our assessment matches that, we should, if we're seeing growth in the classroom, that should translate to growth on the IAR assessment, theoretically. Now, the bulk of my job is to kind of figure out, okay, so where are we not seeing that growth, and why are we not seeing that growth, and trying to find some of the root causes of that, and to then put a plan in place to help bridge that moving forward. But I do think having an emphasis on, those touch points along the way, not waiting till a unit test or things like that, but just saying how we're doing week by week and being able to modify and adjust our instruction along the way will really be key to that.
Just added one thing, when Dr. Raviola started talking about the vision here, we attended an Align to Lead workshop for a day and a half. And in that, there was a lot of discussion about what's your vision, what's your mission. Now, our mission, of course, we know it, Amanda read it earlier, about educational excellence in a nurturing environment. That's still our mission. That's what we all want. But what does that look like? How do you break that up then and say, how do we get educational excellence in a nurturing environment? This vision statement by June of 2027, we will establish collaborative teams with agendas and outcomes that align with the school improvement plan goals. That's how we get there. If you get people talking about data, looking at data, and knowing that's the expectation, and that that's going to be followed through on, and that's what we're all going to be focusing on, we can get educational excellence in the nurturing environment. So we're not going off of what our mission and vision are. We're just trying to make it as if people are sitting down and looking at data, talking about data, having these conversations, and as Dr. Raviola lined up these 5 areas of focus, if all that is happening, you're going to see growth. And when that doesn't happen, then you don't see growth. So I think the steps are there. I think the focus is there, and I think that will come through along with the change of curriculum and all the other aspects that we put into the year. So nothing is ever done without a purpose and without trying to get to our mission of educational excellence in a nurturing environment. We don't like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. To board committee.
I didn't have any admin reports this month. I didn't bring them because everyone's working, there aren't any
Oh,
student
yeah.
discipline issues going on right now. So I didn't move them. So we'll go right into committees today.
Education, report, board policy development, address that discussion. Building and grounds, I think we'll look to scheduling an October meeting, committee meeting. Behavioral intervention, report component. Negotiations and human resources, we'll touch on that in the discussion.
Actually, I'm very sorry, that's incorrect.
In flow, yeah.
So sorry. Thank you for correcting that.
Finance. I'm going to hand it over to Kimmy to discuss the fiscal year 2026 budget results and outlook of operations and fiscal year 2027 tentative budget.
And you do at your space have a, yeah, you'd like to reference.
Okay, so we're going to go over the unaudited results of operations. Our auditors were in 1 week in July, and they'll be back in the week of August 24th for 3 or 4 days. So far, everything looks good. At this point, until we get the AFR, whatever information we have is always considered unaudited, but it changes very little from now until the AFR. we'll also go over the summary of reserves, the assumptions that we base the budget on, because the budget is our best guess of what's going to happen this year. So based on everything we know right now, what do we think, how do I think we'll do this year? That's what the assumptions we use, because it's our best guess. We're going to go over federal and state grants, then we'll get to the budget summary. In board book, you have the full budget. The budget summary is just that high level look at the budget, and then we'll go over the next steps. Okay, so our unaudited year end, you guys have a copy of that in the packet, so it might be easier to see than what's on the board. But if we look at, so if we just review once again, everything is broken out by the buckets, right? All the different areas we have, the different buckets, the different savings accounts, whichever way you want to look at it. So we have Fund 10, 20, 40, and 70, which are our operating funds. So that's the Ed Fund, operations and maintenance, transportation, and working cash. And then on the other side of those, you'll see 30, 50, 60, 80, and 90. Those are our restricted funds. Those funds, they can only be used for what's inside of them. So the money that's in each of those funds are specific to those funds and what they can be used for. And those are debt service, IMRF and Social Security, capital projects, tort. Tort is our insurance, but it's not our personal insurance. It's our liability insurance and our workman's comp. So it's our big insurance for the district. And then we have fire prevention and safety. So the first row is going to show our fund balances from last year. And in our operating funds, when we started the year, we had about $7.5 million. Then you will see our revenues and our expenditures. The revenues and expenditures, if you look at them, they are we did a little bit better than what was in the budget, which is always okay, right? So then the next row is our excess of revenue over expenditure. So any number in that line that's in black is somewhere we were positive. It's somewhere that we got more money in than we spent. So our revenues were higher than our expenditures. Anywhere that the numbers are in red, that is where we deficit spent. And then if you look in the row below that, you'll see our transfers. Our transfers, we had one transfer this year, which was a resolution that the board passed in June. And that was the transfer we did from operation and maintenance to Fund 60, which is to help fund some of the room renovation projects we have going on at Giles right now. And then our bottom row is what our fund balances were as of June 30th. So that bottom row that's in their fund balances is going to be the first row when we look at our tentative budget. But if you look in the operating funds, we are currently at about 8.2 million. So that's better than we thought. So that's always a good thing. And then, keep going. The next sheet is just a close-up of what those actual fund balances ended. Every month in board book, we give you what our current fund balances are. It's very important to just always know where the fund balances are. Everything in our business office is tied together. Every decision we make all year long connects to everything that's going on. When we look at the budget, we're thinking about what we're going to do for the levy. When we do the levy, we're looking at where we're at in the budget. When we make personnel decisions, when we make decisions on the buildings, every single thing we do is tied together. So every month we look at our fund balances, see where we're at, make sure we're on track, and make sure we don't have any surprises. So all the numbers that you'll see in the budget for personnel, we base them on the following assumptions. We looked at the Giles new schedule, the new structure, the 2 new encore roles we have are in there, the additional math and additional ELA, but the change in science and social studies, all of that is factored in. The new admin structure, adding Dr. Raviola's role, that's also included. And then the raises from the CBA and the support staff raises that mirror the CDA that were approved last year. All of that is in there. For taxes, which are majority of our funding comes from taxes, this year the levy was on 2.9%, and we actually just recently received the our draft tax extension. So our extension is telling you how much we actually get. So if you remember when we did the levy, we levied for a 4.97% increase. But what I thought we would receive was a 3.22% increase, and that's the amount we used for projections. Our draft extension came out to a 3.27% increase. So what we're actually going to get from the extension is very similar to what we thought we were going to get and what we used for projections. In the future, if you look at one of the sheets that's in your packet, I gave you the history of Cook County CPI. We should, historically, 2.7 seems like where we might continue to be in the future. So just knowing that and planning for that is what we have to do. For Cook County, like I said, we recently got the extension. There's been multiple different tax issues we've had in the past couple of years, right? So our fund balances that we have right now, we're fortunate that we have them, because if we were in a situation that we were in 9, 8, 7 years ago and trying to survive the tax issues we've had, we would not have been able to do that. We've not been able to not have to go out for a loan or doing a bridge loan from the county, because we have healthier fund balances than we had prior. If we didn't have that working cash fund balance, we would not be able to survive the delays in tax bills that we've had. For this year, for the fall collection, you're supposed to receive it August 1st, but we haven't. They had said it would be about a 2-month delay. Tax bills, once they're mailed out, it will be 30 days from the day they're mailed out until they're due. So if they're 2 months delayed, they need to be mailed out by September 1st for us to receive them October 1st to be the 2-month delay. The emails we've been getting from the county, that seems like maybe it's going to happen. But the one other thing that we also have to be aware of has to do with refunds. So when the county refunds tax dollars, what happens is, like, you almost want to think of it like we have our own little bank account in the county. So if they refund tax dollars, it should come out from us. We don't actually write them a check or send them money. Our little bank account in the county goes negative. And then the next time that we get a distribution of taxes, they take out that negative amount and we just get what we were supposed to get minus the refund that's sitting in there. Since this new system and the last tax cycle, they haven't been taking out any refunds. So the money we got last year, they didn't take any of the refunds out because they haven't figured that out yet. So now this year, we have to know that we might get less dollars than we should because we got more last year because they didn't take out the refunds. So that is a little bit of where some of the additional revenue came in, because they didn't take out those refunds that we will most likely be paying this year once they figure it all out. EBF is our state funds. That's the money that we get from the state. Usually we grow about 2% each year, and that we've got our amount, and it was 2%. I think what I used for projections in the budget, I think we were off about 6,000. So we're very steady with that. MCATs are mandated categorical funding from the state. It's another state revenue. So for special ed transportation is one of those. It's an MCAT. The state each year is putting in around the same amount of dollars for the whole pool of money that everyone in the state splits for that special ed transportation, but the claims from all the districts are getting higher. So when you have more claims going in, but only the same amount of money going out, the amount that each district is getting is less. So for our mandated categoricals, that's another thing that we have to keep in mind is the proration we should be getting or would get in the past, we're getting less and less of that. Full day kindergarten, this will be our last year that we have tuition. So what we've done is kind of to help bridge it a little bit for next year. We budgeted a little bit less in revenue because in the spring, when we register students for next year for kindergarten, they won't be paying tuition. So last year, in the spring, some people paid tuition for this year when they put their down payment. In the spring this year, we won't have that. So we budgeted less this year than we normally would because for full day kindergarten, we won't have that spring enrollment, and also to kind of help the budget not have as big of a jump next year to kind of ease our way into that. For grants, we're going to continue what we have and spend accordingly. And then for facilities, we're going to continue to work with Wolves. We're going to be looking at our life safety projects, and we're going to see what additional revenue sources that we maybe have available to us. So the grants that we currently have is our Preschool for All grants, IDEA, and then Preschool IDEA also. We have Title 1, 2, 3, and 4. Title is one of those ones that lately every year we have it. We're happy that we still have it, and we're happy that we have how much. So we always have to kind of know that title might change. Maybe next year we'll only have Title 1. Maybe we won't have title, so we just also have to prepare for that, but be happy as it continues. We're going to be finishing up the DCEO grant, which is what we've used to fund some of the things like the wood ceiling at Giles, some of the brickwork. We also have, we were told about an additional opportunity from the state at $75,000, but we don't have the details on that yet. If you remember, before when we first got the DCEO grant, it felt like it was a million years ago, and then forever we kept saying, we don't know anything about it yet, we don't know anything about it yet. We keep asking, we keep asking. It's the same thing with this new opportunity. So we know we have $75,000, but we don't know anything about it yet. We keep asking. Mrs. Guzik keeps emailing. So once we do know more information about that, we will share. And then we're going to always continue to look for new opportunities. So we did have the computer science equity grant last year. We currently don't have it, but we did apply for it again. So we're waiting to hear if we do get that. Dr. Raviola is our new person that we love to make him do everything, my friend. So we're going to continue to look at other grants. Rivers Casino, we can't get on that one when we're at school. But, you know, they have a grant, so we'll look at that and other opportunities. He's really good at grant writing, so I'm going to make him do it. And we're going to continue to look for additional revenue. The ones we don't know about aren't in the budget yet because we don't know about them, but we're going to continue to work on. And the state maintenance grant, we just were notified today that it's going to open, so that's another one that we will work on, but that's not in the budget. But we just found out today that the FY27 cycle is going to open, so we will work on that. Okay, so our budget summary. Okay. It's all right. So you also have a copy of this in your packet. I know there is a lot of red on this grant. Not this grant, on this page. I know that. And I know how scary and uncomfortable that can be. It's set up the exact same way as our first slide that was the unaudited. We start with the fund balances, which were our fund balances at the start of this year from July 1. And then we go into the revenues, the expenditures. We don't have any transfers budgeted this year. And then we go into our ending balances. Our ending, even with all the red in the operating funds, is still at about 8 million. And then debt services, yeah, we're about 150, which is okay. And then if you look, the other ones, so capital projects is another area that looks like a little bit lower. And this I forgot to mention is CPPRT is another revenue source that we were told to kind of watch how might be a little under this year. So a lot of our revenue sources are areas that we're nervous about and we're unsure of what they're going to be in the future. But we're in an okay space to be in that type of situation. Okay, so then from now until September 15th, we're going to continue to monitor the budget and we'll adjust it as needed. On September 15th, we're going to have the budget hearing, and then we'll also go over the PA, both of those are 2 acts that are in the state that basically have to do with fund balances. There are 2 reports I will show you, 2 separate ones that have to do with our fund balances. We'll do the budget approval. We're also going to have a life safety presentation in October. And then in November, we'll go over the tentative levy. In December will be the final levy because we're all connected. Okay. Anybody have any questions on the budget?
I have a quick question. Regarding the tentative budget, when we look at revenues, is that with an assumption that everyone's going to be paying their fees?
No. So I look at based on our enrollment and what the fees cost, and then I look at our percentage of how many students, what percentage we maybe have that won't be paying their fees, and I adjust on that. And we always adjust conservatively because then if we get more than we expected to, that's always a good thing. Revenues, we always try to be very conservative.
hoping that it'll be installed before the first volleyball game.